Business Unplugged is proud to welcome Ken Brook-Crispin.
Where shall I sit?
You sit there, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, of course, one of the big questions you're always asked, and I'd like to touch on it first before we start getting personal. What year did you set up Virgin Airways?
That was... I don't get any free flights, you know. I tried to get on a plane the other day and they just threw me off.
It's just not happening.
Yeah.
Like, you mentioned the story of people taking pictures of you when you're on holiday, and...
yeah, that was down in Monaco, where from a distance, from a great deal of distance, they may think, and you see people with the camera looking down the street coming.
Yeah.
It's unnerving at times.
Let's trace the journey to your success. Where were you born?
Bradford, born and bred.
What's your father's name?
Ken.
And your mother's name?
Jean. Was. Both was.
And what was your father's occupation when you were born?
He was a wool mill owner. He had a few wool mills, companies called Warmer Rugs, Warmer Blankets, had a butcher's, wholesalers, a fish wholesalers, a dry cleaning company. Yeah, I think he just stuck his fingers in lots of pies.
Was he your biggest inspiration growing up?
No, because he became an alcoholic when I was about 12 years old. I was away at full neck school, boarding, and he became an alcoholic, and I think one of the reasons I had to go to boarding school was to get away from the aggression at home. And eventually, when I was 15, he was either pushed or did a runner and was never seen again until he died in 1981. So,
did you go to the funeral?
I did, yes, yeah, and met another family.
How did you feel as a young child growing up with an alcoholic father? What lesson did it teach you?
When you become comfortable in life, don't try and buy friends. I think my father used to take everybody to rugby matches, football matches, treat everybody. He used to walk into the pub and, you know, buy everybody a drink. And then, of course, you get bought drinks back, which turns you into an alcoholic.
Do you drink much?
On occasions.
On occasions.
I love my champagne, as a lot of people know.
Yeah. Before we get into the business, what would you say your greatest talent is?
I think that's for other people to see. It's probably being able to put myself in other people's positions and to actually try and work out what they're thinking. You know, such as with Seabrooks. If I'm Mrs. Bloggs with two kids at home, one going to school and I have to buy them crisps every day, and I walk down the crisp aisle, what am I looking for? What do I want? What do I want to see in that packet?
Yeah.
What's going to attract me? And I do that with everything that I think of. And it certainly helps with the negotiations when you're dealing with people are usually fairly predictable. So if you can put yourself in their mind, what would you do if you were them? You come up with half the battle of being able to answer their questions before they even ask them.
Yeah. The famous public speaking expert of years gone by, Dale Carnegie, his real name was Carnegie, but he changed it to Carnegie because of the famous philanthropist at the time, Andrew Carnegie. So he thought, this will work quite well. The name Crispin, did you see Seabrooks and think, I'll change my name? Is that your real name?
My real name was Ken Crispin. I couldn't understand why I never got a middle name, because all the rest of my family got middle names. Even my brother is Gordon Arthur Harold. You know, but I was plain Ken Crispin after my father. I was nicknamed Popper at school from the old Smith's advert that used to be, why not Popper Crispin?
Yeah.
And it was quite amazing when I met my wife one morning in the snow, and I was out with a girlfriend that I bought up from London when I was building squash clubs. And I brought this girlfriend up, and we weren't getting on very well because she was part of the London set, and she didn't like the north at all. She didn't like the sheep or the...
Yeah.
So one morning I'm in the car going down to the squash club, and there's a little Mini in front. And we got held up in the snow at Willesden Top. And I thought, oh, she looks nice in front. I'll, just in case Anne goes back down to London, I'll go and chat this girl up in front. So I went and tapped on the window. And I thought it would be a nice young single lady, but there sitting in the passenger seat is this little girl, about 10 years old. And I thought, oh gosh, mother on her way to school to drop off the kids. Little realising that that was a 10 years younger sister. So instead of the chat-up line, I just tapped on the window and said, I wonder if you could tell me what the hold-up is. And she looked at me as I was stupid and said, I think it may be the snow, don't you? So I went back with a flea in my ear, sat back in the car, and I won't bore you, but on 4 different occasions we met again. But we didn't meet, if you know what I mean. It was me bumping into her in a chair in a restaurant where she turns around and says, not you again.
Yeah.
And then we eventually got invited to a dinner party at her best friend's house. Her best friend was going out with my best friend, and we didn't even know it. Right. So I went on this blind date to this dinner party, and who should be sitting there but Lady Brook. So, not you again. And after that, we got on very well. I don't know what she said when she went home to see her father and said, I've just met Mr. Crispin. And of course, he had the Crisp Company. So,
of course,
that's his history.
You took on Brook. So it's Brook-Crispin now.
Because when I asked for Jane's hand in marriage, Colin said, yes, you can, as long as you change your name to Brook. And I said, well, I actually quite like the name Crispin, if you don't mind. You know, it has a ring, it's my family name. He said, you don't understand. No, you change your name to Brook.
Yeah.
And I said, no, we'll keep the name Crispin. Yeah. We came to a sort of semi-agreement, and I went and had a chat with Jane and said, look, how about you becoming Jane Brook-Crispin, keeping the Brook as a middle name, and then the kids can be called, everybody in the family has an initial C in the name, so it's Jane Seabrook, Richard Seabrook.
Yeah.
But then it sounded as though, married to Ken Crispin, it sounded as though we weren't married.
Yes.
It sounded like convenience. So I changed my name to Brook-Crispin as well. And it's a terrible mistake, because trying to explain to people Brook-Crispin is a godfall, nobody can spell it, nobody can understand it. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah.
Horrendous.
Tell me, Seabrook, the actual name, is it true that that came from Colin leaving an item into a store and...
It wasn't Colin, it was Charles. It was some photographs in Blackpool. This is the legend as we understand it. I mean, Charles is long dead, so it can't be confirmed, but he was about to open a fish and chip shop in Bradford, and it was going to be called Brook Fisheries. And he went to Blackpool one day, took a few photographs, took them into a developer, and they said, what's your name for when you pick them up? And he said, oh, it's Mr. Seabrook. And they incorrectly spelt it Mr. S-E-A Brook. So when he went to pick them up, he thought, what a great name, Seabrook, sea, connected with fish. So Seabrook Fisheries was opened, and the rest is history.
You worked as a chartered surveyor, you worked in property, chartered surveyor for Ladbrokes, in fact.
Yeah.
I mean, why did it take you so long to join Seabrooks?
My wife wouldn't let me.
She wouldn't let you?
My father wouldn't let me anywhere near the business.
Why is that?
He ran it as a very philanthropic hobby. He loved to employ people, loved to give people jobs. He was generous beyond all belief. And he wanted to run it his way. He was the patriarch of all the family. And I can remember one day, or so the story goes, I was told that he employed somebody with a university degree who was into business management, came into the company, did a quick survey of the factory and all the rest of it, and went to Colin and said, well, I've done this report on the company, and we've got far too many employees, inefficiencies, too many levels of management. And Colin looked at this report and writes on him, you're fired. And got rid of him. But he was very philanthropic. I mean...
Well, you mentioned your dad. Your dad was very giving foolishly with his money. And then you have Colin, who was very giving and very caring. He wanted to employ people. That doesn't fit in with your way of thinking. So where did your inspiration come?
Inspiration for what? Well, it changes every day.
Does it? Okay, yes. Well, when you looked at the business and you thought, I'm not going to be like my dad, I'm not going to run it like Colin, what was your philosophy with Seabrooks? And where did you get that inspiration?
Never worry ever about business. My grandfather, who was headmaster of Huddersfield Grammar, once said to me, because I was very worried about my 11 plus, and I was fretting a bit, and he said, never worry unless it involves your health, because it doesn't matter whether you pass your 11 plus or not. If your brain works, you will go on to do whatever you're capable of doing in life. And if you worry, you'll take a wrong decision. So empty your mind of all worries about what might happen or whatever, and play chess in your mind. Go down all the different routes, all the different scenarios, because I can guarantee the worst thing you think about it will never happen.
Yeah.
So always look on the bright side and take the right decision and take risks.
Take me back to 2006, and for example, just picture I'm sitting in the boardroom at Seabrooks and you're giving the vision for the company or where you want it to go. What are you saying to people at that time?
We have the best brand of Seabrooks of crisps in the country, by far, and we need to let people know. Everybody I employed, the new team, the management team, were of the same ilk. They saw Seabrooks as a sleeping giant, and it still is. It's still very much a sleeping giant. I've just employed a new management team, and they are coming to the company on far less salary than they would be able to get in other companies, purely on the prospect that they know it's going to grow, or they are going to make it grow.
Well, the success has been phenomenal, hasn't it? From, what were the figures in 2006, your turnover?
We went down from 16 million to 11 million overnight when Tony Blair and Jamie Oliver banned crisps in schools, because we were the healthiest crisp around, so all schools stopped us.
Yeah.
So we went down to 11 million. It took a year then to settle the ship, as it were, and start to look for the right team to grow the company. And in the next 24 months we grew by 100%. And then in the year after that we grew by 36%. Unfortunately that's slowed down. We're still growing volume-wise, but the supermarkets are using us as a weapon against the other supermarkets. So unless you give them the same deal as everybody else, and unfortunately all our competitors are giving their product away.
Yeah.
And they're actually selling it cheaper than we can make it, because we refuse to go down in quality. So our quality has to be kept at that level, and therefore we can't afford to compete.
You mentioned getting the name out. One thing I noticed throughout your growth, there used to be a time when, and now I'm giving it away that I'm a crisp lover myself, there used to be a time when you'd walk down an aisle in a shop, and you see Walkers, McCoys, where you see some of Seabrooks over there, salt and vinegar there, then you see cheese and onion there. I mean, it wasn't good for my exercise up there and down there. But then I noticed that you were appearing then in lines, you know, that you are getting more shelf space. How do you go about that to improve visibility for your customer?
We started to talk to the supermarkets. Before 2004, I don't think anybody had ever been to any of our customers, apart from the odd cursory when we were called in. But there was no proactive management of accounts and going in and trying to say, look, you know, we've got 4% of the crisp market, but you're only giving us 2% and we're on the bottom shelf. How the heck do you expect it to sell through?
Yeah.
We need eye level. We need it all to be in one place. We need to compete on a level playing field. We went to the biggest gain we made was with Asda, when we actually threatened to delist them. Rather than them delisting us, they refused to take a price rise. And so we rang them up and said, unless you agree the price on Monday, you don't get any crisps. And they said, you can't speak to us like that. And we said, yes we can, we're a brand. We don't need you. We did need them, but they didn't know that.
Yeah.
We then had a big meeting with their category director and management. And we went from 2 million a year to 7 million a year that first year. By standing up for ourselves and saying, you know, having the confidence in the product to say we are better than anybody else in the market. Give us the space and we'll prove it. So they gave us the space. It was a guy called Chris Silcock, who we love to bits. He got Buyer of the Year award at the Asda Awards conference because of us, and was proven right by backing us.
What would you say to people maybe in the audience, or maybe people who watch this online or on video, with regards to dealing with bigger companies? And you mentioned standing up for yourself. Did you learn a lesson along the way where maybe someone treated you badly and you thought, you know, I'm not going to take that anymore? Or was it just belief in the product and you just thought, this is the way it is?
As I said earlier, all I do is try and put myself in somebody else's shoes. Chris Silcock had 2 million quid of the turnover with us, which at retail price is probably 4 million quid to him. For that to be just turned off, he's then going to have to find something else to, otherwise he becomes not the Buyer of the Year award, but maybe down the road award.
Yeah.
So it's realising the aces up your sleeve and having the balls to stand by your convictions. And it's very dangerous, but I don't think you make omelettes without breaking eggs.
Have you made many enemies?
You need to ask my enemies, because I don't know who they are.
Tell me, the big David versus Goliath, Walkers versus Seabrooks, or Seabrooks versus Walkers rather, battle. I mean, how big are they compared to Seabrooks?
We make 1 million packets a day, which is, to most people, they think it's a lot of crisps. They make 30 million packets a day. That's phenomenal. Worldwide they have, I believe worldwide they have over 70% of the worldwide market with PepsiCo. Lay's, Brook-Crispin, Frito-Lay, so many incarnations, Doritos, blah, blah, blah. They're a very, very dangerous competitor, and I wouldn't want them to become an enemy. So we keep very much to ourselves and try to keep our head below the parapet until it's too late.
You talked about Seabrooks being a sleeping giant. Even mentioning that phrase, do you think the people at Walkers will get their ears open to that and think, you know what, this is a bit like, I mention him again, Richard Branson when he turned up in a woolly jumper when he was taking on British Airways, and they kind of thought, oh, this guy's not going to do much, well, we're safe. Do you think Walkers will analyse you and look at you and
They have done. We recently employed a new commercial director by the name of Tim Castledown. who 7 years ago used to be director of Walkers. His task in life was to destroy Seabrooks. He was actually challenged to say, put Seabrooks out of the market because they're our biggest competitor, even though they're very small at the moment. And this is before, well, just about the same time I got involved. You know, they saw us the threat then, because we have the better crisp.
What techniques or what strategies would a big company use to put you out of business, or could they use?
1 year we couldn't get any potatoes. The rumour went round all the potato merchants: if you sell potatoes to Seabrooks, you will never work for us again. So when potatoes, I think they were £95 a tonne at the time, it was costing us over £300 a tonne to bring them from Lower Saxony in Germany, Romania, Hungary and Southern Ireland. Thanks to friends that we had in the business that actually stood up to them. And there was one guy in the UK who owns a crisp merchant that used to supply about 30,000 tonnes a year, who actually stood up to them with our backing, because we did say that what they're saying is illegal, so you know, you're quite right to stand up to them and say what you're saying is illegal. And he stood up to them, and he now supplies them with 270,000 tonnes. And he's the biggest potato merchant in the country. And every time he comes into the office he says, "Thank you, Ken."
One of the big questions I asked you when I first met you was, why is there so much air in a packet of crisps? I mean, I find that with chocolate as well. I mean, you know, you buy a packet of whatever, you think, so much air in this. But you explained it to me, Ken.
Yes,
we've actually got 2 packets of crisps here. And if you're thinking, are they going to get a crisp? No, they're mine.
That isn't quite full enough because it's obviously been travelling a lot, but
yeah,
the air protects the crisp. That one is, if you literally tap it like that, that's now powder inside. Tap that one, and you're not breaking the crisp, all you're doing is just compressing air.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to open these, they'll see inside that a person in our factory...
I'll see inside. Well, no, you put your hands up.
Do you want to try the full ones?
Are they the full ones?
These should be fairly whole. Oh, goodness. Yeah, they are. Just to prove the point.
I must say, I'm not bothered whether they're broken or not.
They're easier to do the head tilt with a...
Branding, marketing, getting the name out. Let's go back to that again. I mean, the Seabrooks bag wasn't great years ago, was it? I mean, you had the great quality, but it was almost like, you know, a diamond ring being wrapped in an Asda bag when it should have come from Harrods, if you know what I mean.
It still doesn't look as it should do. Our hot and spicy do, and our goodbye salt hello flavour, they have the quality. We're about to rebrand this, but I don't want to rebrand until we're certain that we've got our customers who are loyal to us on board with it, and it's attractive to new customers. But when you actually look down the crisp aisle, it's awash with colour, brightness, and trying to find the next big thing that will make you, who've never seen it before, go, and I must try that. It's so difficult because you don't know what's inside it if you've never heard of it. And if anybody in the audience can come up with the answer, I'm still looking for... We can retain.
You know what's going to happen now. There are going to be loads of marketing people in the audience here. They'll be spotted in Morrison's and Asda, looking at the crisp aisle.
Exactly.
Walking up and down. So, what did you change? What was the major thing you changed on this packet from the...
I didn't have to change anything really. We kept the old logo. We enhanced it slightly because it was actually created by Jane's dad, actually writing Seabrook. It was his handwriting.
Wow.
And he did everything to do with the packaging. I mean, you ought to have seen our vans in the old days, in about 2000. There must have been 20 messages on every van.
Yeah.
Britain's tastiest crisp, more than a snack, so-and-so, family favourite, goes well with savoury food, blah, 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 blah.
Every message.
Megalicious was a word he came up with that, created.
Yeah.
We tried to simplify it. I don't think we got it right. It's not that attractive, but the old packets were see-through. We got loads of complaints. But the see-through packets, the crisp went off after 7 days, because if you put them under light, it turns the oil rancid.
Yeah.
So we had to go to foil, unfortunately. It'd be nice to see what's inside.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the technology isn't there to stop light making the oil, because we've used sunflower oil for the last 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the best one that we could find. We're still trying to find the next major improvement, because we are, as people will know who know the company, we're into innovation in a big way. The next big thing.
Tell me about the family business. Which is more important, family or business?
Obviously, the family. Business is a means to an end. It's for a more comfortable life, and without the family, what the hell's the point?
Yeah.
Sitting there on your own as a lonely person with a load of money stacked in the back corner is totally unimportant. I've had 4 or 5 businesses. A couple of them have gone down on me. I've never owed a penny to anybody, so I've never had to write off debts. But no, business, you can always set up again, but you can't replace your family.
You have 2 daughters. They're involved.
One sitting on the second row.
Is she? Aye. How's he doing so far? Is he doing okay? Oh, yeah.
She was heckling me yesterday.
Actually, were you holding the sign outside, come in and see my dad speak? That's why you're all here.
Free crisps.
Tell me, your 2 daughters are involved in the business.
Yes.
What's it like around the boardroom table or around the dinner table or whatever, and you're talking about strategy, vision or whatever? I mean, do they actually have a say?
I don't get to talk. Trying to slide a word in sideways when you're getting the gospel according to the family. It's no, we have very, very vibrant discussions. We're all opinionated in our own way.
Vibrant?
Vibrant.
Well, what's your definition of the word vibrant?
It doesn't come to blows. Well, not quite. Not quite. I mean, somebody did ask why I beat my wife, and I said, I think it's probably a longer reach, better footwork, quicker reactions.
Very good.
No, we discuss everything.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I'm the final arbitrator. So not everybody agrees, but it's I'm doing it in my mind for the best.
Are you one of these leaders who says, I want everyone's opinion, so I can just say I've had your opinion, but I know what I'm going to do anyway?
When I want to know what your opinion is, I'll tell you.
Yes.
Yeah. No, knowledge is everything in life.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of everything. And one of the problems with my previous management was they gave me a considered opinion in their view, which was one opinion. But I employed 4 of them. I wanted 4 opinions.
Yeah.
I wanted arguments. I encourage arguments in the boardroom. I encourage arguments at home. Without it, you never find, and through it, you get these little nuggets, these little gems that come out that you've never thought of before.
Yeah.
Absolutely ideal little nuggets that suddenly come out of the blue. I mean, our logo at the moment is once tasted, love forever. That came out of just a conversation where, we were trying to say, well, what does Seabrooks mean? What does it, we got onto the emotion bit. Why do people say they love it? And it's, well, once you've tried it, you love it.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, once tasted, love forever. far better strapline than the previous one, which was a right proper gobful, which was created by our marketing agency, which was not for us.
How do you deal with outside agencies now when people come to you and say, Ken, I've got this great idea for the crisp? You mentioned earlier on that if anybody has the idea out there.
As I say, I'm willing to listen to anything. One of the things that we're doing for the design, well, subject to all my board approving it, is rather than going to one agency, I want to do a design competition with the winner gets a wad of money. So that we go to the universities, the graphic design universities, graphic design companies, anybody with a creative flair, and say, come up with the right idea for us, and we will pay you a very much enhanced fee.
What's a wad of money? See if I got a pen here. I can start scribbling.
Well, I'm thinking of about 25 grand, which is quite a lot of money for to get somebody through university for 3 years.
Well, when you think Nike's swoosh, the girl who designed that got $35 initially, and then she got paid later on. So, so if anybody's out there and they're thinking they can help Ken, anybody here could do with £25,000? So it's a great competition.
If I design it myself, do I get the money?
You can have a packet of crisps. Actually, my wife, when we met last week and Ken gave me some crisps and I brought them home, and my wife's face, I could have brought her home a diamond ring and she wouldn't have been as excited as she was with the crisps. And I mean this sincerely, because I'm from Ireland and I came over here 12 years ago, and I didn't quite get the Seabrooks thing until I heard people talking about, well, I remember when I went swimming and we used to get the Seabrooks crisps and it brings back memories. And has anybody eaten any Seabrooks crisps actually in the last day or so? Yeah. I tried the new flavour on the way home. I'm trying desperately to be fit and healthy, and then I see this bag of Seabrook crisps in my bag, in my goodie bag, and I'm on my way home yesterday and I'm eating them in the car, and it was just like this explosion. Now, I know you're so passionate. Explosion, my taste buds went nuts. Well, we spent time in your office and you took out the crisps and you're laying them out on the table. And you're saying, Darren, try this one, try that one. And would you like to explain to the audience how the flavours are actually created and where they're created?
We have about 10 companies which are UK and Europe based. And we go to them with a brief of what we believe is going to be the next big thing. But we always say to them, also, if you have a great flavour that your flavourists have created, send it to us to see if it's one that fits with us. To give you an idea of the complexity, the wasabi that nearly blew your head off.
Yeah.
Wasabi is a root vegetable. It's a horseradish from Japan. As soon as you cut it and open it to the air, it loses all its flavour. So if you get some wasabi that isn't coated, it's tasteless. It's just boring. Wasabi pea is okay because you can then coat it in a little sugar crust. So that's why you only get the release when you get through that little sugar coating that you don't even notice. It's like a flour, a tasteless flour. So we had to work with a company that were a specialist in encapsulating the finest grains of flavour. Mm-hmm. And they've encapsulated them in this little coating that's totally tasteless and inert, so that when it hits your tongue, it releases the flavour. And we had to send to Japan to get the wasabi, then send it to another company to have it encapsulated, and then that's our flavour. And Japan have asked for it back because they can't do it. So, we're always inventing, we're always stretching, pushing the envelope out. And cheese and onion, we probably do 300 tastings to try and get it right. When we get it somewhere nearly right, we'll actually go to that company, whether it be in Bristol, East Anglia. And then we'll work with the flavourist saying, look, no, I'm sorry, that needs a little bit more acidity, or a tiny little bit. But throughout them all, no nasties, no MSG, no GM, no E numbers, no chemicals. Has to be natural.
I'm trying to get this right in my head here now. You're saying that you taste 300 different
cheese and onions over the last, say, 3 years. Oh, I could tell you...
How on earth do you know the difference?
I had a little anecdote from a guy who wrote in when we created the last cheese and onion, because 2012 we have to reduce the salt to the new FSA levels, and our present flavour has a fraction too much, so we need to reconstitute it. But when we did the last one, we sent it out to 3,000 customers on the internet, and we sent them our original crisp, flavour A and flavour B, in just plain packets, and said, would you taste them and let us know what you think. We knew that flavour B would be the best, or that was our opinion. And the way we test it is we put big bags in the office and just watch what happens. And the one that vanishes, that's the one. So we sent them out, and I can remember getting this letter from this chap who says, don't know why you sent me these crisps. Being a cheese and onion advocate of Seabrook's for years and years, how can it be improved? It can't be improved. Anyway, I followed your instructions and tasted your original. They were very nice, as usual. Tasted flavour A. These are very nice as well. Tasted flavour B. These are quite exceptional. Tasted your original again. What a load of rubbish they are. You can't win. But we've just seen their final decider on the cheese and onion is my wife Jane, who helped create the original with her father, sitting next to my daughter. And we took some home the other day to her, and these were approved. So we've now got the salt levels down to actually way less than 2012 requirement.
What is it with the family? Do you try the crisps and then look and say, well, there's so many calories on that. Right, family, we're all going out for a jog. Because for a family who try crisps all the time, you don't seem to, have any after effects.
It's mirrors.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, we carry mirrors around with us and reflective things. There's a blue light somewhere, and there's a...
The big, claim is that crisps, they make people fat, they're unhealthy. How do you sell a product that's considered unhealthy?
I don't think it's unhealthy. It's only unhealthy if you eat it 2 packets a day. Why would you want to? You wouldn't eat 2 Mars bars a day.
No.
And a Mars bar's unhealthy. I mean, but there's all these people that say, well, you've got to take this out and you've got to take that out and take the fat out and take the so-and-so. Have you ever tasted these pieces of cardboard?
Yeah.
There's no organoleptic feel in the mouth. There's no smoothness when you eat it. If I said to Cadbury's, right, this is unhealthy, take the cream out, take the cocoa out, and take the sugar out, you'd be eating flour.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it. We're not going to follow everybody else. Having said that, we have just, can't tell you what it is, but we're coming up with a snack which is 2% fat, whole grain, no salt, fabulous flavour. And we're trying to find the machinery to make it, because it's novel, it's inventive, it's new.
2% fat?
2% fat.
How many of those can you eat a day?
As many as you liked, because and they will stay fresh for a year. They are amazing. They really are amazing.
Stay fresh for a year.
Even open to the air.
Now I get worried when someone says that to me, Ken. Something that can stay fresh for a year. Where, in the fridge, or I mean?
No. You tasted them in my office. Those were 5 months.
Those exact ones.
Those were 5 months old. And they were as crunchy as the day we made them.
They were nice, actually.
But they aren't finished yet. There was no flavour on those. Mm-hmm. There was no oil on it, because to get that organoleptic feel. Yeah. And they weren't made from whole grain. They were made from just 1 grain. Whereas what we're going to use is 4 grains. It's going to be beautiful.
Tell me, 2006, you're taking the company forward. Can you describe your leadership style?
My leadership style is a loose cannon. I'm an ideas person, and that's why I need good management around me, because I'll come up with 100 ideas, and it's up to somebody to say, Ken, you're talking a load of rubbish, or recognizing that somewhere in that 100 ideas there might be a little nugget that we can take forward. And I suppose the hot and spicy was a nugget. That's aimed at pubs. It helps sell more beer. I think you probably had to have a drink after your wasabi experience. Yeah. You called at the pub on the way home. The Goodbye Salt is aimed at the 8.25 million people who have high blood pressure and can't have salt.
Yeah.
They're on prescription. They would never go down the crisp aisle, so it's pointless putting it down there. So I created it for chemist shops, health food shops, which we're eventually going to... It's a bit of a Marmite as the Goodbye Salt. Unfortunately, it's gone out to the general public who like salty snacks. So we get loads of letters. Charlotte receives them through Facebook and Twitter and letters in saying, I don't like these crisps, they're too sweet. And the next minute you get, these are the best crisps I've ever tasted in my life. So I think we've created another Marmite.
What do? You say you're a loose cannon with ideas. How do you deal with someone on your team who is the exact same as you? Or do you prefer to have people who toe the line and fit into the team and work together?
No, my eldest daughter, Samantha, that's Charlotte, by the way. My eldest daughter has got the same mindset as me. In fact, she comes up with 10 times better ideas than me. I don't know if anybody was at my talk yesterday, but some of the ideas I can tell you about, she can't understand why smokers need to go out of a pub to have a cigarette when it's chucking it down. So she worked with a company in Germany, Intertaste, to create a cheese and onion crisp that contains nicotine. So you can eat a bag of crisps in the pub and you get your nicotine fix the same as a patch. And then she thought, well, when you're on the motorway and you need to keep awake, so you stop for a Red Bull, but you have to come like this to have a Red Bull. Why not a packet of crisps that contains all the same ingredients as a Red Bull? So again, we worked with a company and they came up with that. I don't think they're commercially viable, but that's just how inventive her brain is. She comes up with ideas every 2 minutes.
You have to be careful here now, because Charlotte's thinking, no, Dad, what about me?
Charlotte's marketing.
Marketing expert, is she?
Yeah. Degree in marketing from Newcastle.
And what's the plan going forward now for Seabrooks in the next few years, for the sleeping giant?
I can only take it so far, because I'm far too old. I probably haven't got much life left where I need to get out and enjoy what I've created. Mm-hmm. And it needs somebody so much bigger to compete with the PepsiCo of this world. So I'm building the company up for either the next generation or the next level.
Most family businesses, they don't pass down the generations too well. That can be differences in opinions in the family, or maybe one person just doesn't have the drive that dad or mum had. Do you see Seabrooks moving outside the family in the next 20 years?
Oh yeah, it will have to. It will have to. It can't grow to its potential. I mean, it would take us 20 years to get it at the rate of growth, even if it was 100% per annum. Walkers are so big, it needs somebody. What we need to show is that if we put the same effort into a little area in the country that Walkers do with van sales, coupons, offers, in every single shop in that area, every petrol station, every cinema, they are in every outlet that you go into.
Yeah.
If we have the same exposure, who would sell more?
Yeah.
And I think, anecdotally, we had a research done by Cambridge Research in 2004, which said that 81% of people who try our crisps will buy them again. We've just got gone nationwide with Sainsbury's, and the evidence that's coming back from their electronic point of sale EPOS is that in the first week, the repeat purchase in the second week is 36%.
Wow.
Which is unheard of. I mean, for first-time buyers to 36% of them to then go back the second week and buy them again, it's great.
Well, you've given them 2 offers already. I mean, you basically said to your audience and people watching online, create a new marketing campaign for us. You get 25 grand, or actually there's an invitation to buy the company if you have the right amount of money as well.
Yeah, or we could do a competition.
Yeah, a raffle. What about a big raffle for Seabrook?
The country's biggest raffle.
Tell me, Ken, what's your favourite word?
To do with the company?
Life.
Company is quality. In life, family.
Family. What's your least favourite word?
Least favourite word? I don't think I have one. Doily.
What?
Doily. I hate the word doily.
Doily.
It doesn't describe what it is. It's a beautiful piece of filigree.
Yeah.
And doily? Who thought of that word?
I haven't heard that in a long, long time. Anyone? No.
Failure, I suppose.
If heaven is real and in many, many, many years to come you are lucky to get a place in heaven, who would be the first person you'd go to and say hello?
Depends who was up there.
Well, whoever you think would be up there.
Probably my mum. Then my sister. And hopefully they'll all survive me.
Why was your mum so special?
5 kids, drunken husband, violence, aggression. He suddenly left, very wealthy man, took the Rolls Royce, took all the rest of it. She had to go out to work, went and got a job as a shop manager at Marshall & Swellgroves in Bradford. Then moved to Brown Muffs and became department manager there. Had to start again at the age of, I forgot how old she was then. Yeah, getting on, 50 years old.
Yeah.
And suddenly, had to sell off the land, the tennis court, all the for housing. So we were left with just the house in a little plot. Then had to move out of that eventually. Just couldn't afford to keep it up. So yeah, good lady.
Well, Ken, as I said to many people when I told them I met you, they said, "What's he like?" And I said, "Well, he's very charismatic, shall we say. If he had taken off the goatee, he might have got a part in Miami Vice as Crockett, But you have this charisma, but you've also got an awful lot of integrity and wisdom. You just want to share it. And I want to thank you for sharing the good times as well as the not so good times. And on behalf of everyone here at Business Unplugged, we wish you all the best in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, Business Unplugged is very grateful for the wisdom and honesty of Ken Brook-Crispin.
Thanks, Gary.
We have a few questions.
Thank you, Ken. My name's Sarah, and I run a company that offers project management training. And in these tightened times, training is often seen as a nice to have. I was just interested in your view on staff development, whether you see it as a luxury or a must have.
Absolutely vital, Sarah. This little example I gave you earlier about taking air out of the packet, it was somebody in the factory that decided that the boxes were too difficult to pack because they had to be pillowed and you have to force them closed. You don't actually damage the crisps when you force them closed. What you do is give the box integrity. And it was carefully done by Jane's father years ago, by trial and error, and it should never have been changed. But somebody in the factory decided, oh, if we let a little bit of air out, it'll be much easier to close the lid. So it was only when we started getting hundreds of complaints about crushed crisps, boxes collapsing in supermarkets, pallets collapsing in the warehouse, and I went round everybody and said, what the hell's going on? Why are we getting complaints? And it was only after about a month that this guy admitted, oh, well, I turned down all the air on the machines. So constant staff training all the time. We're just sending them all for this, the footballer, Moamba. We've got a defibrillator at work. When we had it installed, there were 8 of us trained on it. I think there are only 5 left in the company, so we're now going to get 12 people trained on it. And we've asked for a sign to be put outside saying defibrillator available, so that you can see it on this busy junction opposite Morrison's, so that if anybody's in trouble, you know, they know where to run to. And I don't know why they don't do it all over the country, but there we go. But yeah, staff training, absolutely vital, because people get into bad habits, and you've got to stop it instantly. Thank you, Sarah.
Hello, Ken. My name is Dr. Abdul. I'm a very, very young company, recently starting off. I came halfway through into this talk. I'm from Sheffield. Basically, one of the key projects I'm actually dealing with is looking at waste management and turning waste into key products. The question I want to ask you is, obviously, you're well into business. What sort of guidance or suggestion you'd give how a young company could approach investors?
Young company approaching investors. When I had the chance to buy Seabrooks, it's because it had gone down from 16 million to 11 million overnight. So it was really an unsaleable company. We were going to put it on the M&A market, but it was pointless because the value had been massively depreciated. So I approached banks, quite a few banks, and if you go with enough confidence and exude confidence, you will give them confidence. If you go in begging, you're going to get a flea in your ear and be sent out of the door. So what I do is every 3 years I have a beauty parade for everybody in my company, every supplier, including the banks, and they all have to come and sit in front of us like little school children and tell us why they're better for us, so that we're in charge. And I think if you have that confidence, they lent me enough money to buy the company, and I didn't have to put a penny in. So they did come to me 9 months later and say, why the hell did we agree to this deal when we hadn't started to take off? And I said, just watch this space. And a year later they said, now we know why we did the deal. So it is, if you're strong enough and you've got the right idea and the confidence in your own product and your own ability, you will get the money.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Ken Brook-Crispin.